Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
Sure. My name is Kevin Wohlman. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I'm the founder and CEO of Southern Scholar.
Awesome. So can you just tell me more about your company and how you got the idea for it?
Sure. About 10 years ago, coming up on, I was working in public accounting, and I just noticed everybody in my office was wearing some sort of patterned dress sock to kind of try and add a little bit of style to an otherwise sort of monotonous look. Everybody in the office essentially is wearing navy trousers, white button down, khaki trousers, white button down. You know, as the business casual environment had kind of changed, nobody's wearing jackets, ties, pocket squares anymore. So a lot of people are using socks to kind of differentiate their look. But I also noticed that everybody in my office, including myself, were spending, half the day pulling their socks back up as they've fallen down their leg. I, at the time, lived about 3/4 of a mile from the office, so I was walking to work every day. And I noticed that even with expensive socks, after a couple of wears, I'm pulling them off and they've got holes in them, or they're pilling or whatever. So I just thought, socks are something that have been around for so long. They've kind of been commoditized. Everybody uses the same 12 factories, the same material blend, the same yada, yada, yada. And I thought there might be a way to make them better. So I spent the following about a year doing exactly that, testing material blends and suppliers and different cuts and fits, trying to find, a better version of the modern dress sock.
For sure. So like, in terms of this process of actually finding and creating this perfect sock, like did you have to go overseas to China, or did you find manufacturers here in the US? Like what did that process look like for you?
Yeah, and I say we a lot, it's me, but it's just a habit. I spent a ton of time talking with and sampling with manufacturers all over the world. United States, China, Japan, Pakistan, Turkey, all over the place, Italy, until we found one that we thought really stood out from the crowd. At the same time, we're not just sampling to test, the supplier themselves and see if they can deliver on what they've promised or on what we've asked, if the communication level is there. We're also sampling 10 to 12 different material blends and different needle counts and different cuts with each of them. So it was a very kind of rigorous and kind of overstimulating process, because I'd have 1 week where I'm getting in 100 pairs of samples. I've got to keep them organized between which supplier. I've got to keep them organized on what materials they are, on what the difference between one or the other is. And then I've got to go test them, right? So it started out with me just wearing them to work and testing them. And occasionally I'd have a coworker comment on the pattern, and I'd take a note, oh, this pattern, people have commented on, maybe that's one we start with. But really I was more focused on the fit, the comfort, the durability, if they stayed up, if they were absorbing sweat and getting super wet, or if they were wicking it away, if they smelled after the day of work, yada, yada, yada. So it was a very, very long process. We probably sampled with north of 50 different suppliers in that first year before we decided on one. And then since then, we've jumped around quite a bit until we found our now, long-term partner that we consider an extension of our team. We've been working with them probably the last 6 years, I want to say. So yeah, pretty extensive process.
Where is your current supplier located?
They're in Haining City, China. We work with one of the most experienced hosiery makers in the world.
Oh, wow.
We've tried to bring it domestic. We've tried all sorts of different things. As silly as it sounds, it's the truth. We cannot find anybody that competes with our supplier.
That's amazing. So in terms of your business today, is it mostly retail, e-commerce, Amazon? Where I guess are most of your sales happening?
Yeah, 99% on our website. We have not launched on Amazon yet, although we are about to. We're probably about 2 weeks away from the Amazon launch. We do some, in the past, we had done some very specific retail and wholesale partnerships, primarily specialty menswear shops and gift shops, a lot of mom and pop stuff. The wholesale side was never a focus. We were completely focused on scaling, the e-commerce side first. With that said, we're kind of at our tipping point. We're growing rapidly. We have the opportunity, infrastructure to expand in different channels. So at the same time as we're getting ready to launch on Amazon, We're also relaunching worldwide e-commerce. We're expanding upon our retail and wholesale play. So we're about to be everywhere. And I'm excited for it, but it's definitely a big step and a lot of work.
So in terms of retail expansion, is it more so like these smaller shops, or is it going to be in some larger retailers?
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of both. We're trying to widen our net of the mom and pop shops and the smaller retail stores because what we've found is that there's a massive overlap between somebody who goes in to buy a suit at a menswear shop in Wisconsin and they happen to buy a few of our, socks that match with that suit at the counter, kind of an impulse buy. And then we get an order for 25 pairs and we reach out, say, hey, I really appreciate, the large order. Curious about how you found this. And it's like, oh man, I was either given a few pairs of your socks when I, bought a bunch of clothes at the specialty shop, or I decided to pull the trigger on one at the checkout counter and I just love them. So I came in and bought everything that I could find that matches with these new suits that I got. So since we have such a heavy overlap there, and a lot of the times with retailers, especially the smaller ones, they might only be buying, 10 to 12 different styles. We have 180 SKUs. So they have a limited selection. Their customer comes to our site, to take a look and see, and they're like, holy Lord, they have a ton, right? So there's a big overlap there. So we're definitely going to expand the mom and pops side. We also are working with a new partner that is going to go and pitch the larger retailers like your Nordstroms and your Macy's, et cetera.
For sure. So how do you get someone to actually try your socks? I mean, do you run like lots of ads, or how do you I guess it's like from what you're explaining, it's like once somebody actually tries a pair, they're going to want to buy more because they see like the value of your socks. So what does that process look like to actually get people to try them on, whether it's online or in retailers?
Yeah, so we have an unreal retention rate and an unreal repeat purchase rate. And it speaks to the quality of the sock. It speaks to the fact that our number one priority is customer experience. So that's telling you what you're going to get, telling you when you're going to get it, and then delivering upon that. These days, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but I think you'll agree. These days, there are so many e-commerce companies out there that are strictly marketing companies. They put together the best creative. They have an incredible, Facebook funnel. They have whatever. They have this great acquisition process. They're acquiring customers for next to nothing, or I mean, not like it's 2008 Facebook ads, but comparatively next to nothing. But if
Right.
that customer gets that product and isn't blown away, they're not coming back. And you cannot survive long term without that retention strategy in play. So, yeah, we run a lot of ads. We didn't run ads for the first 4 or 5 years we were in business. We were strictly organic. I used to say organic and social media, but looking back at our social media strategy back then, and it's still not great as far as the organic goes. Looking back at it, from years and years ago, I don't think we were getting much from that. I think our social media was more keeping current customers engaged and keeping the brand top of mind because we weren't even doing email marketing back then.
Oh, wow.
But somehow we managed to grow, we managed to survive and do quite well without spending any money on ads, without running email marketing, basically breaking every direct consumer marketing guideline. We still survived. And then as I started to learn what I really should be doing and became an expert in those realms, that's when we started to kind of skyrocket, right? So yeah, these days, a good portion of our first time purchases are coming from your paid media ads, your Google search ads, podcasts like this, probably a little harder to track, but it's likely. But yeah, that's the bulk of our acquisition for sure. The real bread and butter is in the retention, getting that customer back, without having to incentivize them with, hey, 85% off, yada, yada, having them come back because they truly love the product and they want more, right?
So do you partner with like influencers or celebrities who you think might be good fits for your product?
Again, I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about all the things that I don't do well, but influencer strategy is one of the things we don't do well. We never have. We work with a few, maybe 6 to 8 influencers that we've worked with for years. And when I say work with, we send them free socks. If they wear them, great. They always do, which is phenomenal, but they're not required to post. We don't tell them, what kind of content to produce. We don't give them a timeline or a deadline or anything. It's just, hey, these are the 4 or 5 guys that, seem to really like our product or tell us they really like our product. We send them socks on occasion. They wear them. They post them. That's awesome. That's the extent of our influencer strategy. We hired an agency in the past to scale our influencer strategy, and I won't say names, but it was an absolute nightmare. They actually still owe us money, which we'll never see, but that's okay. It's something we should do better at. It's something we will try and do better at, but historically we have not done well at. What was the second part? Oh, celebrities.
Yeah, or like athletes maybe.
Yeah, so athletes, again, we don't do a good job with this. We've seemed to have some great organic opportunities just fall in our lap, and we take advantage of those when, they come, but it's not something we go out seeking. We've had several actors, actresses, musicians. We've had their management teams reach out, and we always vet them because this is one of like the biggest scams in the ecom game. We always vet them, so we know they're legit. But they'll reach out and say, "Hey, so and so is going to be on X magazine cover, or so and so is going to be at the Golden Globes tonight, or so and so has a premiere for his new show or movie or whatever." And he's a huge fan of your brand. We were wondering if you'd send us, some product for them to wear during this photo shoot or during this press opportunity or whatever. And we pretty much always do, but those kind of relationships are very hard to track, right? Unless you have some huge name celebrity, Leo on the cover of GQ, right? We'll go with that.
Right.
And he's wearing our socks and our name is in the caption or in the title of the article or whatever it is. Very, very low chance we're going to be able to track hardly anything. If we
Right.
see this huge uptick in sales or in traffic from the day that magazine goes live, then yeah, we have a pretty good idea where it came from. But those kind of partnerships or those kind of opportunities are hard to track. We did have an athlete, Joe Pavelski, who plays on the Dallas Stars, longtime NHL veteran. He placed an order with us a few years back, and it was a large order, and that's kind of what caught my attention. This is past the point where I'm checking every order and whatever, but it came across. It was large. I remember I was sitting next to my brother on the couch, and I popped open my phone. I went to Shopify, and I was looking, and I was like, "Oh man, it says Joe Pavelski. I wonder if it's him, right?" This happens all the time. We've had Bernie Sanders. We've had all these different names cross our Shopify, and I'll catch them from time to time. And there's no way to confirm if it's them, right? But thankfully, I was able to confirm that this one was Joe Pavelski. So we shipped him his order, and then a couple weeks later, we shipped him a second order, just a freebie from us with a handwritten note. And I had been a huge fan of Joe Pavelski my whole life. I grew up playing hockey. I'm 32 years old. I still play hockey 4 days a week. So that was a really cool opportunity for me. And I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, really appreciate the order, supporting a small business. I've been a huge fan of yours. Huge or." Very excited to see you get traded to the Stars, and I'm actually going to be at your game next week, yada yada. And it was kind of this organic relationship. Sent him the socks, told him, "Hey, go ahead and give them to the guys in the locker room, give them to your friends, give them to your family, keep them all for yourself. I don't care. This isn't a quid pro quo here. This is just me saying thank you." And a while later, he had posted about it, and then he DM'd me, and now we kind of chat back and forth from time to time. He hooks me up with tickets from time to time. And I send all the guys and the coaching staff and all that socks from time to time. It's a very organic relationship. There is no, you have to, I have to, this is our contract, whatever. It's just, hey, I'm going to hook you guys up with some socks. Do with them what you will. And from time to time, we'll end up on their Instagram, right? They take pictures of all the guys walking into games in their suits, and we'll see a little glimpse of our socks, and it's pretty cool. I know that if you talked to any head of partnerships at a direct consumer brand, they would be like, "Kevin, what are you doing? Try and monetize this, try and track this, do it this way, whatever." It's not the way that I really do business. I love the organic relationships. It may not be the most, financially intelligent move. There might be better opportunity there, but I like it the way it is. And that's kind of how we look at it, their relationships over anything else.
But do you have Stars players like buy from you like organically after trying on your socks?
I wish I could tell you that I kept that much of a tab on it. I know a couple days after, I can't remember if it was when Pavs placed his first order or when we sent him the new box or the thank you box, or if it was after another shipment we made to them later on or what. But I did see a few of the teammates follow me. Jamie Benn followed us, which was cool. So a little bit of that, but I don't track the names on our orders enough to know. My first instinct would be probably not, because we've sent them quite a few, and we're actually about to send them another little gift here, since they just clinched playoffs. Just a little, congratulations, yada yada. But now you're making me wonder. I might have to go. I might have to go through the roster and dig through and see if any of them have.
For sure. So like, I was just curious. Like, I was looking like at your website, and you have this sock club. So I was just curious if you could just tell our audience like what that is and what that's all about.
Yeah, for sure. So funny enough, when we launched in, what was it, November of 15, I want to say, we were subscription only. You could only get our socks through our subscription. It's one pair a month, shipped automatically on the first of each month. And we got all these questions from people like, "Hey, I don't want to sign up for this thing. I don't want to commit to this thing." And, we did our typical kind of retention tactics like, "Oh no, it's cancel anytime. It's pause anytime. It's skip anytime." Like,
Right.
really committing to anything. We want to send you something every month. And that works sometimes, but we had a lot of people that were coming back and saying, "Hey, I would spend a lot more money. I would be willing to pay a much higher price if I could just go in and select what I want at my convenience. If I can get 12 pairs at once instead of one pair for 12 months, like I pay more." And frankly, we weren't that profitable on the subscription side. The thought there was that the lifetime value would outweigh the acquisition cost and that we would eventually become profitable from those. But they weren't hugely profitable for us. And as we all know, cash flow is very important. So we decided, man, I want to say it was like February of 19. So we were 4-ish years in. We decided to launch a store on our website that was your typical e-commerce process: purchase as many as you want, whenever you want, no subscription. And we hit it. We didn't announce it. We didn't put a big button on the website that said like shop. We hit it in the menu and we wanted to see how many people would find it. How many people were, because like our, what's the word I'm looking for? Our attention span these days is so low.
Right, right.
We land on a website and we don't find exactly what we want, or we're not immediately intrigued. We're not immediately, impressed. We're like on to the next one. So I thought it would be a really good test to see. We hit this button. How many people are finding it? Because I bet you for every one person that finds it, 50 people came to the website hoping that there was that option. And if anybody honestly is willing to go and search and search and search and find something that wasn't meant to be found and successfully find it, then people really want to just buy these socks without the subscription. So we looked at our numbers. We decided what we, needed to charge to be profitable on a non-subscription setup. And I thought to myself, the socks, in my opinion, and our customers' opinion, thankfully, are well worth the cost or the price. But somebody that's never tried us before, are they going to be willing to pay that amount for a sock? And we do not want to have to continually discount to acquire customers. But we thought, let's just, people went and searched for this button and they found it and people are buying it. So let's just launch it and let's see how it goes. And it was the best decision we've ever made in our life, or in the course of this business, I should say. So since that moment, we've been on a pretty good, growth trajectory. The subscription has quickly kind of fallen to the wayside. It's nothing that's going away, but it's also not something that we just push and push and push like a lot of other brands do. We really focus on that e-commerce acquisition because we've found the higher lifetime value is somebody that finds us, buys a pair or two or three, loves them, comes back and buys a ton more. And then they're looking in their drawer and they're like, I own 100 of this company's socks, spending a lot of money on them. Oh, there's this cool little subscription thing I can add. I can get my fix with one pair a month, and I'm good there. The lifetime value on that customer is a lot higher than somebody that finds us through the subscription first. They might add a pair or two here and there, but it's not to the same extent as somebody that finds us through the e-com store first. So we try and push that a little bit more. The subscription has kind of fallen to priority number two, but again, it's not going anywhere. People like it too much for me to deprecate it.
For sure. So obviously now in 2024, many companies use high level technology like AI. So do you guys currently use AI? And if not, what could AI may add value in your business?
Yeah, we're just going to keep talking about the things I don't do well. No, man, we don't really use anything as far as AI. We use some softwares that have a bit of machine learning in them, but nothing too complex. Pretty much, if a customer buys this sock, they're X% more likely to buy this sock, right? And then that'll help us kind of filter our collections and decide on what to upsell on what and things like that. So really using more machine learning to help us make decisions. We don't use much artificial intelligence. On occasion, if I'm like having a kind of writer's block when I'm putting together an email campaign or I'm building out a landing page or something like that, I'll go into Chat GPT and I'll throw in like what I have come up with that I know is not good and see what it comes up with. Never do I just copy and paste it, but it usually sparks a thought like, oh, yeah, let's do that. Or if you can't tell from this podcast, I talk a lot. So when I write, I also write out a lot. I don't really get to the point too quickly. And in copywriting, you kind of need to. So I'll write up my normal thing and then I'll go into Chat GPT and I'll be like, summarize this in, 5 sentences or less, and they'll do it. And then I'll usually take that and be like, yeah, I am being very repetitive here. Let's cut that. Let's cut that. Let's cut that. But that's pretty much the extent of it. I'm sure over the course of the next 12 months, that'll change. I can't remember the last time a software company has pitched us and didn't include something about AI. So it's coming. It's not going away. We will find a way to use it. But at the moment, man, we're pretty old school.
Have you thought about like AI chat to like recommend products or to help, talk about like your products, things like that?
Yeah, so the recommended products is the one thing we do use, and that's again, that's more machine learning.
Right.
It's looking over all of our past data and saying anybody buys the Braxtons, they're very likely to buy the navy blue solids. We should put those right next to each other in a
But I'm
collection.
saying more of
Or
like a live
in the event of
chat.
like,
Like if somebody has like a certain
absolutely not.
question, yeah.
I have not, and I don't plan on it. One thing I take huge pride in with Southern Scholar is that I still handle all of our customer service. Going back to one of my initial statements that nowadays there are so many e-commerce companies that are simply marketing companies.
Right.
They're not brands. I think on the same level, there are so many e-com companies, direct consumer companies, or just brands in general that the first thing they outsource is customer service because
Right.
nobody wants to do it and it is a headache. But going back to retention, making sure your customers love you as a brand and want to come back, I would say having a real human answer their concerns quickly and efficiently, and with the correct information and not too many questions goes a lot farther than a lot of people realize.
For sure.
And again, going back to what I'd said earlier, if you tell your customer what they're getting, when they're getting it, and deliver on that, you don't get that many inquiries, right? You don't have a million people reaching out pissed off.
Right.
So I still handle all of it. It's not that daunting of a task for us, thankfully. It's on its way of getting there just because of the scale, and how fast we're growing. And so I will probably introduce some sort of a chat option that has, your AI responses, but we will always have a very clear message in there that like, hey, want to talk to a real human, hit us here, and it'll be me on the other end.
That's awesome. So what would you say is like the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you started this business?
I would probably say stop trying to do everything yourself. Find a way to outsource it, find a way to get help with it, find a way to automate it. That was a huge game changer for me about 2, 3 years ago. I started to automate a lot of my like tasks. And I looked at a lot of these tasks as, hey, this doesn't really take me that much time. It's maybe 30 minutes to an hour every time I have to sit down and do it. Instead of, well, you sit down and do it 5 days a week. So that's 5 hours a week. Now we're talking 20 hours a month. How much are we talking over, and what could that time be spent that's revenue producing versus admin, right? So I started to automate all that stuff and it was a huge game changer. The other thing I would say to anybody that's getting started is there is certainly a balance between this like hustle, 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 money never sleeps mentality. I spent the first 4 or 5 years of this business working 100+ hours a week, every week, sleeping 4 hours a night on a good night, absolutely killing myself, working a second job to fund my life so I could reinvest all the money into the company. And in my brain at that time, it was like, that's what had to be done. That's what's getting done. There was no question about it. There was no remorse about it. But I'll tell you this, if you're working 100 hours a week, you're probably getting 30 hours worth of real valuable work done. And if you're working 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week, you're probably getting 40 hours or 50 hours. So the net is higher, right? You cannot kill yourself. You have to take care of yourself, gotta sleep, try and get some exercise, try and eat okay, try and read, try and decompress. If 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is just work, 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 you're gonna hit this kind of breaking point where you're not getting anything done. The tried and true saying is you can't, what is it? You can't pour from an empty glass. It's typically used for relationships, but it goes into business just as well. You're not getting anything done if you're empty, right?
100%. So if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
Well, we are on pace to do about 3.5x what we did last year. And last year we did about 2x what we did the year before, a little bit more. So for us to, I think we're going to achieve that goal no matter what. But for us to do that without me killing myself and working 100 hours a week and pouring from an empty glass and yada yada, finding the right hires is going to be just crucial. So we are in the process of hiring for a few positions. In the past, everything we've hired for has been outsourced or agency, nothing fully in-house. A few months ago, I hired a consultant that lives in Dallas. So it's sort of like an in-house hire, in-house contract hire at least. But this will be our first time hiring people like truly, truly in-house on our payroll. And it's going to be a new task, but I think that the rewards that are going to come from it, both for the company, myself as an individual, and the people we hire, I think it's going to be well worth it.
That's awesome. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social media, or I guess best ways to get in contact?
Yeah. Best way to get in contact with me is probably through the contact form on our website. Again, like we said earlier, I answer all of our customer service inquiries, so it'll be me on the other end. If you guys are interested in checking out our product, is it cool if I plug a coupon code?
Sure.
All right, let's do Zing 20 for 20% off. Does that work?
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, and that's southernscholar.com. So yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, have any questions, if you're just getting started out, one of my favorite things in the world is helping people start businesses. You can reach out to me there. If you're interested in trying the product, you can hop on there with that coupon code and take 20% off.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right. Bye.
Take care.